Jaws here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean. We have Spigs18 or Anthony. And Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
Oh man, what we usually do, talk about something really cool. And once again, we're blessed to have someone from the house that got us all going. Cypher Unlimited wouldn't be here without MCG. And we have none other than Charles Ryan, COO of Monte Games. He's been on our show before, so many of you out there already know him. A man who really needs no introduction. But at any rate, Charles, you sure? But at any rate, Charles, you want to go ahead and say hello to the people out there? You want to tell them anything about yourself or say anything before we get into this?
I'm Charles Ryan. I'm the COO at Monte Games.
All right. Anthony?
Yeah, Charles, welcome back to the CU. You officially tied Sean as the most appearances by MCG member. He's the third. So, Sean already sent me a message saying, hey, he has to top you, so he might be on it. I'm just kidding. But we had Monte on last week, and, Monte started talking about Darkest House, and, we ran out of time. There's a lot more questions we want to ask about the Darkest House. You have 1 day left, on this wonderful Kickstarter. It's truly a unique take on the digital adventure experience. So can you tell us a little bit of why MCG decided to take on a project like this?
Wow. Well, as with most of our big projects, it's Monte's. Monte's thinking about how you play games and how he likes to play games and what he wants to do in the gaming space. He's the one that brought the idea to us and said, this is what I think. Now, I can't speak for Monte. I do know that his ideas for the Darkest House go way back throughout his gaming, career as a GM, all the way back to his earliest days in some form or another. But in its incarnation, like within the setting, I'm talking about the setting itself, not the product. It actually came out of his Invisible Sun narratives. It was actually a location in Saturnine that his players braved or dealt with or went into. I'll be honest. We played a one-shot at one of our summer summits a few years back that Monte ran. Actually, it was a split. We had two groups. Monte ran one of them. I think Shauna ran the other group. And both groups went into the house, but then they switched and swapped like who the GMs were and where they were and what was going on. It was really, really freaky. And I think that was a manifestation of the Darkest House. I know it was an old house. There was a Vizway's house. We were there looking for something. Anyway, it was really cool. So that's conceptually where it has its roots and what brought it forth. And then of course the other thing is that we're all gaming from home and have been for a year or so. We've been playing all of our games online, and online gaming can be okay, and it can suck. But there's other things about online gaming that actually can be good, right? Like when you're gaming online, there's information that you can give to different players in different amounts in different ways. There's strengths to online gaming, things that are different and better in some ways than gaming in person. And I think that's what Monte was reaching for, is how would you make a product that doesn't just make online gaming not suck, but actually is built to take advantage of the parts of online gaming that are really good and unique to that format and make the most of it. And I think that was sort of the genesis. Now, I said that conceptually it sort of came out of, I think, some of Monte's past campaign stuff, and particularly his Invisible Sun narratives. I think another element that just made it almost an inevitability or perfect for our times is that this whole idea of being trapped in a house that you can never get out of, and all you want to do is get out of this house and go someplace else that's not this house. That also seems to be kind of, metaphoric for our times, if you will. Yeah, so that's where it came from, both as a setting idea or an adventure idea and a product idea.
I think I got my next T-shirt idea. The house, and then in the back, this makes online gaming not suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. We've got this trend going. It seems like every time somebody MCG comes on, we get a new shirt idea.
Nothing wrong with that.
The premise is definitely very enticing as far as the not just the setting, but like the overall presentation of the material, like how it's all set up to be online only. And I guess it's pretty evident because y'all are hitting stretch goals like mad. I think y'all hit about 10 at this point, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we unlocked the 10th today. Yeah.
And, you know, with the house growing several times already since that initial announcement of the Kickstarter, do you guys still expect to meet that May release date? And which stretch goals are you guys most excited to talk about?
Oh, that's a tough one. So the growth, I'll get the growth side of it first. You know, when we sat down and said, okay, let's plan out this Kickstarter, we basically made a decision that we were not going to like let any stretch goals take us beyond what we could accomplish in the time that we had given ourselves. Right. So like we put a ceiling on it and said, this is as far as it's going to go. Right. Now we have a little bit of a room in there with the boundless halls. That is the one element that we said like, well, we're not going to make that happen by May. So, you know, that's probably a June or maybe even a July release for that. But we have that extra room there, right? Like that's something extra that we can do. So that gives us a little room to build out beyond that. But yeah, we put a ceiling on it and said, we're not going to make any stretch goals that we are not prepared. We don't have a good plan for making them happen in time for the release of the game. Now, what are we most excited about? That's a tough one because there's only out of the 10, like you said, I think 6 or 7 of them have been growth in the house, right? Which itself is really cool because the whole idea of the house is that it's not just an adventure. Like, we were really careful about how we talked about it in the beginning because it's not a campaign setting. You wouldn't start a campaign and run it there, but it's also not just one adventure, right? Like you put it on your campaign, and you know your players will go in there, and you might play for 2 or 3 sessions or whatever until they finally make their way out. And then your players are going to be like, well, I don't want to go back there again, right? But the idea is that it has put its hooks into your world, and then maybe the GM, you know, I think a crafty GM allows the players to think that, okay, well, that was fun, that was cool, now we're going to go back to our normal adventures. And then like 4 months later, when suddenly something about the house comes back, smashing back into play, something that they thought was not important, some little hook suddenly is really big and they're having to go back there or whatnot. I think that's just going to be so much fun, right, for the GM to do that. And that's kind of how it's built. It's built to be more than one adventure, even though it's not a campaign arc. So the growth of the house just enables that further. I think that's probably the thing I most like. I think we were also excited about the sound too. We had already recorded some sound. That was an early stretch goal. So early on, before the Kickstarter, we even played around with some sound to see like if we thought it was going to be effective and a cool thing to add. And once we did that, we're like, oh yeah, this is going to be really cool. So we added that as a stretch goal. I think that's an exciting one too. You know, the other things they're all good, right? Like the Monte, we unlocked a seminar a couple of stretch goals back, and I think it'll be really easy for people to think that that's just sort of a bolt-on or a throwaway or an add-on. But like the way you run the Darkest House and the way you make the most out of it, like there's tricks. There's like kind of like I was just talking about the whole thing about how let your players think they've escaped. They don't know how big the Darkest House is, right? They don't know that it's whatever 70 rooms or something like that. Who knows? They go in and they explore 12 or 15 rooms, and they encounter like one of the aspects of the house, and maybe they think they've encountered the soul of the house itself. Maybe they haven't, right? So then hooking them back in, you know, that's just one kind of way that if you sort of play your cards right, you can make stuff out of this product that you might not think of as through your normal GMing style, as well as the technical aspects of it, like how to make the most of the click to copy text that you can send to individual players, or other features of it that wouldn't be part necessarily of how you would normally run a game at your tabletop if you've been GMing as I have for 40 years. Did I just say 40? Some very large number of years.
I'm really excited for the Monte seminar. I'm super excited for the sound effects. I think it's going to add so much to the immersion of the adventure and the software. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to work.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's all exciting. Like I said, I'm already having dreams about the direction that you guys can take this for other products, and what this means for the future of online gaming. And that being
Right.
said, you guys have advertised this as a cross-system adventure experience.
Right.
Can you talk about a little bit about the house system? How
Yeah.
difficult was it to come up with, the PC conversions, and all of that? It's like, because you said it's capable of converting multiple systems.
Right. Right. Yeah. So mechanically, I mean, the mechanical design was all from Monte, right? So I don't stand here and speak as a designer about how it came about, but the system is pretty stripped down. It's not a crunchy system. It's a very, very light on the crunch system. And you're going to roll 2 dice and you're going to add that total to a rating. So like if I'm a rating 4 character or I'm a rating 3 character, but I have a rating 5 ability, that's what I'm going to use, that number 4 or 5 or whatever. I'm going to roll 2 dice and add it together. And then you have boons and banes, which lets you take the best 2 of 3 dice or the worst 2 of 3 dice. And you have a couple other little odds and ends that affect how things work right there. But that's pretty straightforward. It's basically ratings are on a scale of 1 to 10. Anything that you can enumerate, whether it's a 1 to 20 system like D&D, whether it's a 1 to 100 system like Call of Cthulhu, or it's a 1 to 6 like in a Cypher system. If it's got a numerical scale, you can convert it to a rating. That's a really straightforward thing. And then you've got lots of other things like, I have this potion of spider climb and I drink this and I can climb walls, right? Well, that doesn't need any conversion, right? It just works the way it works in the game that you're bringing it from. And then you have a few things in the middle that are like, well, how does my fireball work? Oh, we're going to call that a rating. It's a rating. I'm a rating 3 character, but we're going to call that a rating 5 attack or a rating. It has an area effect or whatnot. So you might have to use a little bit of judgment on that. But the basic idea is that you're going to take all the important things about your character. You're going to figure out your character's overall rating, which gives you a baseline. Then you're going to look at the abilities that are above that baseline. You're going to look at the abilities that are below that baseline. You're going to look at your character's magic sword, right? Does that give you an increase to your rating when you use it, or does it give you a boon when you use it? A few things like that. But you're essentially going to isolate all of the things that you need to describe to be most faithful to your character. And each of those things is going to give either a rating, or it's going to give a boon, or it's going to have a bane, and a couple other things. And so it's literally something that in most cases can be done for up to a mid-level character, even in a complex system. It can be done in about 5 minutes. You're going to convert your epic level character who's got 87 different magic items and stuff like that. Yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer. On the flip side, you're probably not going to convert all the things that you're not going to use in the house, right? You're really focused on the types of actions that you're going to take in the house. You don't really care about your crafting ability because you're not going to craft anything in that, while you're in the house. So, that's the sort of the basis of it.
Nice.
I mean, you say that, but like, I'm one of the people who loves playing a crafter, and I don't know, maybe you could jury rig some to unlock a door to get out, break a wall down. I don't know.
Sure, yeah, and so like absolutely, like if you've got an ability that allows you to jury rig solutions and things like that, then you just give that a rating, right? Like, where does that fit? Does it go with the rating of your character and you just enumerate that ability, or do you say that's a higher rating? Like, my character is rating 3, but if I'm jury rigging, it's a rating 4, right? Like, maybe that's what you do. But again, you're not going to be in the house and decide that you're going to like craft this magic item that takes like hours and hours and all these special components and stuff like that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The gamer nerd in me wants to see what a Deadlands character, a Numenera character, a Conan character, and put them all into one adventure. So I'm excited to see how that works.
Did you see James Walls' live play that he did on Sunday? It was awesome.
On my list to watch.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, and he did exactly that. He had a D&D character. Let me see if I can remember correctly. D&D character, a Pathfinder character, I think, an Alternity character, and I think probably a Cypher character. I can't remember what they all. Yeah, one of them was a Cypher character, right? But anyway, but they're in very different genres as well, right? Because you had high fantasy and Alternity, like this character that was basically an AI, an android type character. It was really cool, and they had a lot of fun playing it. He had a really great group for that.
I'm surprised he didn't have a DCC character, because I know he does some really cool DCC games.
He did. It was a 5e and a DCC. It was not a 5e and a Pathfinder. I apologize.
So, when your guys were in the planning stages of the Darkest House, was it always your first choice for it to be a haunted house? When you were creating this online interactive adventure.
You know, that would be a great question for Monte. I suspect the answer is yes, because like I said, it sort of came out of his Invisible Sun campaign and even earlier stuff like that. However, so I can't really speak for his thinking along the way. All I know is that when he brought it to us, he said, "Guys, here's what I'm proposing as our next cool thing." It was already a haunted house. It already had that name, The Darkest House.
Cool.
Nice.
I mean, I could easily see it being like, depending on if you want to like mess with the setting a little bit, you could even have like a Darkest House boat. Like it could be something that shifts into the dock every now and then. I mean, I'm just throwing ideas out there because my mind is spinning with creativity from all the stuff. but
yeah. So the thing about the Darkest House is it is the house that it is, right? Like, so if you're gonna go, like, you could reskin rooms and things like that, but it's really designed that you're not doing that, right? So you will have some anachronistic stuff, right? You'll have a room from the 20th century, and if you're playing characters, as I'm going to do with my old gaming group from England, who were coming out of the Middle Ages, because it's an Ars Magica group from the 13th century, you know, they're going to come into a room that's got a floor lamp, right? Like they're not going to know what that is. So you've got those sort of elements. But that said, it's also within its own space, right? So like nothing says that the door has to be something you see from the street, right? It could be at the end of a hallway. It could be it could be a spaceship, like the ship comes up and it docks, and when the airlock opens,
you walk into the
go in, but you're walking into the room. You think you're walking into a spaceship. When you walk into the room, it's this 20th century living room.
Yeah, I got a lot of ideas, and I mean, just some of the aspects. The fact that, you know, like Monte said, like, you know, you did the Darkest House, you know, takes things from other places as well.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
So what you were saying, Al, I could just see that happening. Now you open one door and you walk into a port. You know, it's a port. It's the port that you use to get your boat comes in at that just docked at, or right. You know, I could just see all sorts of aspects. So I'm pretty stoked for this whole thing. So
yeah,
pretty exciting.
Jason C says he wants to convert his Toon character, talking rhinoceros.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Totally doable. I think that character might be especially confused. Find that the world works a little different. But like somebody was talking about converting their paranoia characters. I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Wow. But you know, when the Darkest House was announced, the Kickstarter was first announced it was announced as an only online project. You know, you received a lot of acclaim for it, especially during the times we live in. You know, and especially since it's so innovative, we haven't really ever seen anything like this. But there have been a few whispers that this might be the direction you guys plan to take for all your future products. Does this mean that it potentially could be the end of physical books, or do you plan to keep releasing physical books? What's going on with that?
We know the answer to this question, but
yeah, it's kind of a softball because you know, here's the truth. People also said the same thing when we came out with Invisible Sun, right? Like, oh, now Monte Cook Games is only going to make $200 games that come in the top 1 game. No, we like making all kinds of games, right? And we make bog standard RPG books that are 160-page hardcovers that cost $40, and we make Invisible Sun, and we make No Thank You Evil, and now we're making this. Like, we love to go where the inspiration takes us and making the games that we want to make. Could there be other things like, you know, could we use this technology to build other things? Absolutely, right? Like, it's totally would work. It has its limitations, right? Like the house is very much a site-based, encounter-based type of adventure, right? It's not a sandbox open world. So it would be great for, like, you could do a great dungeon crawl, I think, using this technology to build it out, because again, same thing. You've got a room, it leads to another room, or you go to the right and it leads to something else, right? So you've got that same sort of structure to it. It wouldn't work super well for other types of adventures, or maybe it would take some adaptation, and maybe you could make it work well. So anybody that's thinking, well, clearly we're going in one direction because we've done this thing, we're not. We're going to keep making a variety of different types of games, and who knows, somewhere down the road, just like 3 years ago it was Invisible Sun, and a couple of years before that it was No Thank You Evil. Like, a couple of years down the road, there's a very good chance that the brilliant minds in our design team, particularly starting with Monte, will have some other really great idea for something that breaks the mold in interesting ways.
Well, I'll be honest.
Okay,
I'm sorry about that. I'll just be honest with you. I hope this isn't the last online adventure you guys built like this. I could see this beautifully, you know. Could you imagine just, releasing something like Adventure Keys, This way, maybe 5 or 6 things like this. This would be awesome for that. I'm just throwing it out there because I think it's brilliant. I dig it. It works for me.
I was just gonna say that I know that was a softball question, but I start with Invisible Sun. Those questions get asked a lot. We Cypher Unlimited guys, so we
Right.
we get to the ground when it comes to MCG stuff on social media, and I know that comes up a lot. And I want to say, hey, they're not gonna give up, 5 years worth of business model just because they came up with a new idea, but it comes across a lot better when somebody from MCG is saying it.
Right. And it's not just about like it's recognizing, like I said, that it is really great for what we're doing with it, but what we're doing with it is not the end all and be all of tabletop RPGs, right? Like if this is good for encounter-based, room-based, online play, and that's about it. Well, actually, I shouldn't be too strong on the online thing because it would also rock in person if the GM runs from a laptop.
Well, I've already planned it out, dude. I've got a 65-inch in the living room, and I'll hook the laptop up to it, and all the images will come across the screen. You will be able to sit around the living room, turn the lights down low.
Yeah.
The crazy sound, got the surround sound, so it'll be beautiful.
Yeah, you gotta hide some Bluetooth
work
speakers.
Really well.
Like
that's what I'm saying. I got speakers all over, so it's like that kind of thing. I've already planned it. I've seen it. You're more than welcome to come over too, Ken. But it's now we're talking about this. So how long do you think it would take for someone to complete the Darkest House in like gameplay hours, and what do you think the replayability value is?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We started out, it was about 4 dozen rooms, and we've in the vicinity of, if not exceeding, a 50% increase on that based on the stretch goals that we've unlocked already. So, you're talking something like 60, 65, 70 rooms or whatever have already been sort of unlocked. Now, I'm being vague because we never like to we don't like to design to page count if we can avoid it, right? We like to design to the needs of the product. So if it so happens the design work says we're shooting for about 70 rooms and 73 is the magic number where it really works well, that's great. But we also want to be able to do 69 if that makes the best product. So I apologize for the vagueness. I'm not trying to lead you around or anything like that. I forgot what I was saying. Sorry.
But basically, we were just saying, so what do you, if you could encapsulate an ideology of gameplay hours and replayability?
Yeah. So my guess is that probably it's 30, 40, 50 hours, probably now toward the high end of that range, given these stretch goals we unlocked. It also depends on how deep you go down, right? Because there's certain times where the PCs might open a door, look at a room and say, oh, no, thank you, and close the door, right? And move on to the next door. And do they wrap back around to that place? Or they go in and they have a short adventure, but they don't discover everything that room has to offer them, right? So it kind of depends on how far they go down. Early on, I think, when you introduce this to your group's first objective is just going to be getting out of there, right? But if it's one of those things where you loop it back into your campaign, it comes back into play, or they've taken some curse or something out with them and they've got to go back and solve it, and maybe ultimately they decide they want to actually they can't defeat the house, but remove the house from their reality, break its hold on their reality. That involves getting really deep into the house. That's at the high end of it, right? But if what they really want to do is escape and not have to deal with it again, that's at the lower end. As for replayability, there's a fair amount of it in there, right? Because a lot of these encounters are based on psychological stuff that the PCs bring in with them. And the house, it's not a dungeon where you go in and you clear out this room of the bugbears that live in it, and then those bugbears are gone, they're dead, right? The house just sort of, it is what it is, it reformulates itself. You may come back and find some of the same things that are there that you thought you dealt with, but it's going to play out very differently this time because maybe that thing that's in that room is drawing from a different player character's memories to pull out the thing that's dangerous that they confront or what have you. So I'm not going to say that every room is infinitely replayable, but even players that are going back through a same sequence of room that they might have gone through before as they go into the house are going to have new experiences that are, fun, I guess, depending on your definition of fun.
I know 2 specific rooms that we played in the playtest demo definitely have replay value because it's like what you said. It was like the experiences of a particular player. So if you replaying it with the same group, but they go into that room and it's a different player chosen, then it's a whole new experience in that single room.
Yeah.
So that definitely adds to the replay value.
Right, and I think that also there are cases where you may go into a room and discover that the way to get out of this room or the way to solve this thing or the way to deal with this, it involves something like, oh crap, that's something that might be related to that thing we saw 4 rooms back. And so now you've got to work your way back, get that thing. Like there's things almost like a well-crafted video game. There's just going to be things that are important that you don't realize are important right away that are going to cause you to go back and mess with this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just picture that. Man, we got to go back to 4 more rooms. We almost died in like 2 of them.
Right. Oh my God, we got to go back past that tree. Oh no. Yeah.
So can you explain to all the potential backers out there, that might maybe still be on the fence? What's the difference between the 2 backer levels?
Okay, so essentially the Darkest House that's at the base level, the $45 backer level, that is the Darkest House as it will be available for sale after it comes out. After we deliver to backers, then it will actually become a for sale product and you'll be able to buy it. And that is the thing you get. I don't know whether it'll be $45 or if it'll be more, given how much we've grown it since we first started. So maybe at the $45 level is a good deal, but it certainly won't be less than that. And then the level up contains the Devoured Halls, which is an annex to the house. It's more content that is, but it's not just part of the house that other people don't get into. It's sort of its own thing with its own mystery and its own backstory, but it's connected to the house and it works the same way. And that will only ever be for these Kickstarter backers, right? We'll probably continue to have that backer level open in backer kit, so late pledges as well. But inclusive of late pledges, that's it. That's a one-time only availability of that content. It's not as big as the Darkest House. It's about 20% the size. So that's the Devoured Halls, and then there's some other things that are in there. There's a digital art book, and then there's an exclusive tour that Monte's going to give online of the house, in which he talks. This is different from the seminar. The seminar is about like how to be a great GM of the Darkest House. The tour is about like, I love this room because X, and my influences were that Y, and oh, by the way, here's a really cool fun trick. And like it's more about Monte's personal experience of building it and what his influences were, what he likes about it, what his favorite parts are, things like that. There might be something else on that level. I can't remember. What else is on that level. But there's basically a series of exclusive things that come in that level.
So just so we get it straight, so everybody know, if you back at the 85 level, this is the only time to get all this exclusive stuff, right? So you wouldn't be able to get it after the fact once it goes to the open market.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, guess where we backed at?
Very enticing, yes. and
we backed at that level.
And it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm surprised. Like 75% of the people are backing at that upper level, which I was like, it's really cool. We're going to make this level with some exclusive stuff, and some people really like that. And it'll help bring the pledge levels of the campaign up, which helps make it easier for us to fund and hit funding goals and whatnot. And the percentage of people that are taking it is much higher than I would have guessed, which is fantastic. And I personally think is the right move, because like we say, it's not content you'll ever be able to get again.
I mean, Charles, I don't know if you figured it out yet, but that's normally where me and Anthony back at all the time. Because it's like, books, what stuff?
Extra stuff?
Oh yeah, let's give it to us.
Like to be serious for a minute, like one of the differences between this and many of our campaigns is that we're not building a line of products. Like, so a lot of times if we're doing Numenera 2 or Invisible Sun or even Liminal Shore, right? Like there's X many products that we set out with, but our plan is that we're going to fund more products. This is not that. We're funding one product and making it better. So it's kind of different than some of the other ones we've done.
Still cool.
What I was gonna say though before was I forget if you actually said it's about 20%, like the Devoured Halls are about 20% the content of Darkest House. The way you talk about the Darkest House, that 20%, that sounds huge. Like the way you mentioned it made it seem like it was a small little, but 20% sounds like something like a massive wing to the house. That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. Because the house, this won't be obvious to the player characters that are involved in here, and so spoiler alert. But the house has got these different sections of it that have different natures, right? And I think there's 5 of them. There's 5 of them, and so this would be about on scale with another one, right? So it really does add some significant bulk to what you get to do with this product.
Very exciting.
Al, before you ask the last question, we're gonna ask your question. When's it's tomorrow's the last time for the Kickstarter, correct? Tomorrow and what?
Friday.
Oh, Friday's the last. So you have 2 days left to back.
Yep.
Let me
So
get
if you
that link in the
haven't, please
chat.
go out, check it out. If you're on the fence, we're putting up the links right now. You can check it out. Watch the video. Go to their YouTube channel. Charles has a video how to operate the software, and Monte has a couple of videos explaining the game itself. You should really check them out because they're really cool and informative.
But seriously, go to the Kickstarter page and download the preview, right? Like you don't have to take our word for it. You can go and look at a small chunk of the Darkest House. It's only a few rooms. They are not exactly the way they are in the Darkest House, which avoids spoilers. So you'll recognize the room. The tree room is the tree room, but there's some things about it that are different, right? But you can go and you click through and see how it works, see how all these links work, and why it really is a completely different kind of product. It costs you nothing, right? You just go to the Kickstarter page, click a download thing, and run it.
Yeah, that will work well.
I think if you haven't done that, you will like it.
And just to piggyback off that, and the experience is nothing like you've ever experienced before. I think a lot of people will be surprised what you could do with a digital adventure. They're kind of pushing the envelope in this field, and I'm excited to see what other people think. Because this is unlike any online adventure you ever experienced.
I can second that. Anthony and I were blessed enough. These guys wanted us to help play test it, and that was probably one of the coolest 2-hour experiences that I can actually say I've had in a long time with gaming. I mean, Charles ran my game, and
thanks, Dean.
It was a blast. I mean, it was a blast, Charles. Thank you, because you guys have something here. Like I said, the possibilities that I see, what I'm seeing, I see endless possibility. Maybe that's just the creative in me, but it's huge, And if you haven't experienced it yet, do like Charles said, go download it. Check out the video we did with Monte. Check out all the other all that information out there. There's a lot of stuff, and this is kind of unprecedented too, because this is a small campaign, but it's got so much traction, and there's just so much for you to enjoy even before it comes out. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut into the question time now.
It is no biggie, but we've talked a lot about the Darkest House, but there is another project that people are very excited about, and that is Tullis. When can we expect to see this massive project in the hands of Kickstarter backers and also the general public as a whole?
So Kickstarter backers is a matter of weeks. General public will be in May. It's on press now. It's actually moving to bindery right now. It is a big book, so all those steps take time. It's moving along. We're really excited. It is not far down the road now.
Nice. So Charles,
Dean, same with Frozen.
No, I just someone said we look good. It looks fine on my end.
It looks fine on my end.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep moving. I'll just say we're fresh.
No, I was just saying though, Charles. I mean, listen, we know we got Tullis coming. We know we got Claim the Sky. We know we got Darkest House. But can you give us any hints? Anything on the horizon that you can give us a tidbit on? I mean, any information.
Once you get out to Claim the Sky, which is October, I believe, you're looking. First Responders is out there as well this year. You're getting toward the end of the year there, right? Like, I think everything we're doing in 2021, people know about because it's already in the pipeline.
Well, I tried, guys. I tried to get us an exclusive for the Cypher Unlimited family, but hey,
we gotta try
every time. Every time.
No matter how many times, we're gonna try.
Always. But we will tell you this though, Charles. As always, we're always available to play test.
And guys, we're getting towards the end here. If the audience has any questions to ask Charles, now would be the time. We already had one question asked by Samuel K. Kaufman earlier, but it was already answered within our questions. They asked, when will we be seeing Tallest in the hands of backers? And yeah, we go a couple weeks, hopefully.
Someone else did asks, do you plan to do a Darkest House dice set like you do with every other product? I know it's an online only, but I wouldn't mind some extra dice.
So, we gave that some thought, but the time frames for that are long, and everything else about it, the project is digital, so we'd be doing like one physical thing for it. It wasn't a great fit for a lot of reasons. I of course, who doesn't want some more dice? And by the way, speaking of dice, we were just shipping out the Tallest dice. Speaking of dice and Tallest, we were just shipping out the Tallest dice, and holy mackerel, are those beautiful.
I got mine right over there.
Yeah, I think they're the nicest dice we've ever done.
Real quick on the Tallest.
No, I'm going to take it back. The Invisible Sun dice are nicer, but they're still really nice.
I have a question for you, though, about the Tallest dice, real quick. I bought the 5e set because it was more dice in it. Are the Cypher dice, do they have special pips? Are they specially marked?
They're marked the same as the dice you see in the 5e set.
Because see, I would have bought another set if they were specially marked for Cypher. All right. Well, let's see. What do we got? Any more questions?
The Infinite Construct asks Claire, do you think the future of digital RPG products will move away from PDFs and more towards apps like The Darkest House?
That's a great question. I think it is too early to know. PDFs have the advantage that there's the development cost beyond a book is relatively low, right? So if you make a book, if you're going to make a print product, making the PDF product is not very, very hard, right? Like if you do a good job, you're going to do lots of hyperlinking and bookmarking and really make it, you're going to set the resolutions properly so that you have higher resolutions on the maps that need them. And there's all these steps you'll take, but it's still a pretty small increment compared to the rest of the development cost for the product. Producing a product like The Darkest House is a much, much more constrained development cost. Now that said, could possibly use the technology for other things. But that said, like I was saying earlier, it's great for a particular type of adventure. It may not be great for lots of other things. And even The Darkest House has embedded within the product, there are PDF elements of The Darkest House that you'll pull out. So like, you're not going to be clicking through, the way you click through a room is not how you will learn the rules. It's not how you'll help the players convert their characters. Those will actually go through much more conventional PDFs that are embedded within the product. So you open up your copy of The Darkest House, you click the button that downloads the GM's guide, you click the button that downloads the player's guide, and you give that to the players. You click down the button that downloads the digital character sheet, since that's one of the things we unlocked, give those to the players. So you'll have elements that are more like conventional PDFs. That said, I certainly think that the technology that we've built here is really cool and has lots of opportunities for use. I can't imagine it would completely displace the PDF, though.
You know, it made me think of when we spoke to Monte, he talked about how his mindset had to change designing, a digital product. So I can imagine from your end, the marketing and promotion for something like this had to be you had to totally change your mindset as well, right? Your business plan had to be like slightly different.
Yeah, for sure. For one thing, it's the only Kickstarter that we've done. Is this true? I want to be careful I don't say something that's not true. I'm pretty sure it's the only Kickstarter we've ever done where the rewards are 100% digital, right? So one of the things about a digital, when the rewards are digital, is the incremental cost of each additional one you make, right? Like if you make a book, especially an expensive thing like Invisible Sun or Tallest, right? Every one of those that you make is expensive. So you want to make exactly the right amount, right? You're going to make something like, whatever, The Devil's Spine, 96-page softcover, right? Like, if you print 7,000 and you only end up ever selling 6,500 and 500 eventually go to get pulped, it's not the end of the world. But you don't want to be pulping any copies of Invisible Sun, right? Because they're like, it's $100 each to make them, or Tallest or something like that. So you're really paying attention when you're making physical products to getting those numbers right and everything like that. Digital product, once you've sunk all the effort into the process of making it the first copy, you spend all the money you're going to spend, right? Like every additional copy is free. So that does mean that you have more flexibility on the return on investment you're getting on your marketing, right? So like if we can do if we would spend $100 on marketing for Invisible Sun, we would need to make $400 back, right? Like, but maybe if we're spend $100 marketing on The Darkest House, we only need to make $250 back, right? Because isn't this huge amount of that cost goes into making something. So yeah, there's definitely that. The other part of it is trying to convince people that this is really something new and different. But we're kind of used to that at MCG, right? So it's not the first time we've actually had to tell the public, no, it's not like what you think it is, but you're going to love it anyway. And, certain percentage of the public's like, okay, but how is it just like the thing I already have? So
I'll tell the public this: try it, you'll like it. Just try it.
I always find the marketing aspect, especially like from like the product idea to product completion. I always find that fascinating how you can reach your audience, and I could definitely see the similarities between not trouble, but the methods you use with Invisible Sun with this product, because they both out there and not the norm. So one, you got to educate the public and make them make them as excited as you guys are, and it's a different method. So I always find that fascinating.
Yeah, and when sometimes you do a product like let's say Claim the Sky, right? So Claim the Sky is a book for the Cypher system that's about the superhero genre in the same way that Stay Alive is about horror and We're All Mad Here is about fairy tales or whatnot. That's one message, right? It's fairly easy to get out there, but you only have to say one thing about it. You don't have to tell people what a book is, right? Like with Invisible Sun, you're telling them like what this setting is, right? Like, well, is it a fantasy setting? No, it's something new. It's not a setting like you've ever seen before, right? But also the product is a different thing. Oh, did I tell you about the directed campaign? Oh yeah, it's got this thing where like it's made to be played with characters of different personality types. And oh, there's an app, right? Like there's all these different messages. Like, there's a little bit of that too with The Darkest House, because it's about the product is different. The experience is different, what it's focused on, the online play aspect of it. It's like all these, the whole about, not just is it system neutral, but it's actually made to be used in your campaign because it works better if your characters bring backstory in with them. All these different elements that you're trying to tell people are, it makes a very, it's like one of those novels that has like 8 different subplots all woven together, right?
Exactly.
The great part is you guys are experienced at it now, though.
Yeah, and it's a huge testament to y'all, because even though, again, these are kind of out there products like, Invisible Sun, Darkest House, you guys are doing a stellar job at telling people exactly what it is, the product is, and what it's going to do for you, and getting people excited, because obviously you're hitting these stretch goals and all that stuff, so, like, you guys are doing an A+ job at explaining these new and unknown things to people, and it's just awesome.
Thanks.
But yeah, I think we can now transition into our rapid fires, Anthony.
Yeah, you've already experienced our rapid fire questions twice. This is your third go round, so we decided to change the game up a little bit.
All right.
We're gonna ask questions that are either haunted house related or house related somehow.
Okay.
So, Al, you can ask the first question.
All right. Haunted house or roller coaster?
Roller coaster if it's the real world, haunted house for sure if it's gaming. Fiction, for that matter. Anything fictional, haunted house. I'm actually reading Haunting of Hill House right now, which I've read before, and of course the TV show was fantastic and the original movie is really good. But I haven't read. I don't think I've probably read it in 15 years. But haunted houses are pretty fucking awesome.
Gotcha.
Well, with the haunted house being brought up, if you had to take your chances, would it be the house from Poltergeist or the house from Amityville Horror? Which one would you take your chances in?
Poltergeist was one of my favorite movies when I was younger. So, I know that one really, really well. And I remember reading the Amityville Horror, like the book, like back in 1979 or whatnot, back when it was still kind of treated like it was something real.
Exactly.
They're trying to pass it off as something. I think I'd probably go Amityville Horror because that's creepiness, right? Like, you're gonna get stabbed in the head with a spinning compass, like you draw circles with and spin around. Yeah, that's all right. No, thank you, evil.
What's scarier to you, weird clowns or spooky children?
Clowns, because I have 2 kids, and spooky kids are totally over that.
All right. Which household room do you spend the most time in?
Oh, definitely my bedroom.
Good answer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you had to eliminate one room in your house, which would it be?
Oh, if it was sucked away by the darkest house itself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. Well, the guest room is what I could live without, probably most easily. Got a couple of different bathrooms. Damn, that's tough, man.
Send a half bath.
I'll tell you what. If they could have the garage if it takes all the mess.
Good answer.
I got 3 kids. I need all the bathrooms I can spare.
Right, fair enough.
All right, this is a good one, I think. If you could pick any character you played over the years in an RPG to enter the darkest house, which one would you pick? Ooh,
So I'm probably going to pick one of my characters from the Call of Cthulhu campaigns that I played with. We had a really great group back in Seattle that we played with. Jeff Grubb, Stan Brown, Tammy, myself. John Ratliff was our GM. Wolf Bauer played in that game. And those are characters that were really, they kind of really well developed. They had a lot going on in them, and they were kind of used to scary stuff, even if they, were like Call of Cthulhu characters. Not like they're super tough or anything like that. But yeah, that'd probably be one of them, I'd say.
They're built for it.
Basically.
Although I don't know, the idea of a paranoia character going in there, that's also pretty fun.
Yes, I can see that.
All right. So, would you rather haunt a house or a person?
I think a person would be more interesting, right? Because then you can get out and about, right? See what they see. You're not like, I'm haunting a house as it is, man. I've been in this house since March of 2020.
So if you could attain any of the famous monster tropes, which one would you choose? Lycanthropy, vampirism, so on and so forth.
Wouldn't be vampirism. That's too hard. Like, I played enough vampire to know, you have to feel bad all the time when you're sucking people's blood. Lycanthropy is pretty cool. As long as you have some control over it, right? What other good trope would I try to think creatively here?
You could be a mummy, but I would stay a zombie.
You don't necessarily be a mummy. You could control a mummy.
Jason C put up a good one, Invisible Man.
Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah. We played a handful of games, like a short campaign of We Are All Mad Here, and I played my character the character actually ended up playing in a couple of different campaigns, because you can kind of get away with this for We Are All Mad Here. But it was Reynard the Fox, which is a medieval character who's a troublemaker and whatnot. And I had a lot of fun playing that character. That's not really a monster. It doesn't really count. But maybe that's the character I take into the darkest house.
I love the double back.
Could always be a leprechaun.
Oh, man.
Unless it was that leprechaun in the hood. That was like the worst movie ever.
Ooh.
What is your favorite scary movie of all time?
Yeah. So that's a tough one, because The Thing is one of my all-time favorite movies, period, right? That's a huge favorite. But the scariest movie one of the scariest favorite movies is The Grudge. Oop, I can't keep this thing in. The Grudge, the American remake of The Grudge, was pretty darn good as far as being really scary. That's one of my favorite food is, man. I love horror movies. Alien and Aliens, right? You can't leave them out. Yeah, I'd go down a long list.
All movies I haven't seen. Yes, I have not seen any of those. It's a running thing.
I've watched millions of horror movies, but only one horror movie has ever scared me, and that was The Exorcist.
Exorcist is a pretty good one. Yeah.
I have seen that one.
Small child.
I was so young when I saw
Yeah.
Exorcist. That's why it scared me. But there were a few, but they were probably obscure. A lot of people probably wouldn't know them, you know. But yeah, there was some. I think movies back then just had an atmosphere thing going on, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it was the fear of the unknown and those crazy sounds and all of that kind of stuff. You know, now they just like to give you gore.
Yeah, they relied less on special effects.
Most definitely.
Well,
You survived on makeshift rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
so we're gonna get ready to wrap things up here. You know, Charles, you got anything you want to say to the audience before we sign off tonight?
I don't know if I have anything to add. You guys are really good interviewers. You covered a lot of really good ground. I'll go back to the only thing I said before. If anybody's watching this, I mean, unless you've already backed and you're like, I'm in, whatever, I don't need to see anymore, that's cool. But if you have not backed and you have any doubts, just go try it. I'm telling you, you will love it. It is really cool. It is really different. Go try it. It's free. You just download it from the Kickstarter. That easy.
Yep, and the link is in the chat right now for anyone who wants to check that out, along with links to Charles's Twitter, where you can catch updates from him personally and also his personal stuff. I mean, I don't know, I haven't looked thoroughly into Twitter, but yeah, I definitely post Monte Cook Games related stuff, and as well as the Monte Cook Games Twitter have been linked in the chat, so definitely check those things out for more information.
Anthony, any final statements?
Yeah, definitely check out The Darkest House. If you backed it at a low level, now you know you're gonna get all this extra stuff. You still got 2 days to back it at the highest level. Well worth your money. Like, you know how we feel about MCG's Kickstarters. You always get a bang for your buck. We're gonna say that, you know, till we're blue in the face because it's the truth. And it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see and curious to see what this whole house entails. You know, I'm really excited to see the sound effects, and I want to see how Monte runs it. You know, because you get a lot different information when coming from the creator that you may have not thought of. So I'm excited to see that stuff as well. So, you know, I'm just a fan. So I'm just like you. If you backing it, I'm backing it, and we'll go on the CU server and play together.
Absolutely. And I think only final thing I'm going to say to everybody out there is, I think this might be the next innovation to what we start to see from, you know, gaming out there, you know, digital products, because we are all gaming online. I got tons of ideas, and I'm going to tell Charles and Monte all about them so they can, you know, implement them, and then we can all have fun with that stuff too. So, you know, like Anthony said, like Charles said, get over there, back it, you know, download it, try it. This is a great place, great thing to start with. You know, I'm there. You know, thank you everybody for coming out. You know,
and if you like Cypher Unlimited and you like what we do, please give us a like, share, and follow on Twitch and on YouTube. You know, go to our YouTube channel. We post our videos every week the following day. So this video will be up tomorrow on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe there. Visit our online store. Pick up this cool merch like you see me wearing today, or the shirt Dean got on. You know, or give us a little Ko-fi donation. Like we always say, our videos always be free, but every little bit helps with stuff like Zoom costs. And last but not least, please join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server. We have the largest fan-run Discord server out there. We have close to 4,000 members where games are being run and played every day. Discussions about all MCG products are happening every day. So if you have a favorite if you have a favorite MCG product, go check us out there. And we're always on there. So if you have any questions about anything, just hit us up there. And like always, we love you guys.
Yep. And for me, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Video will be up on YouTube tomorrow for those who missed it. And yeah, definitely share the video out with someone who might want to know more about The Darkest House. And yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you, Charles, again for coming on. And from us at the CU, we will see you later.
Bye, guys.